Welcome to part two, not four, part two. So today's video is part two of our beautiful handmade mosaic glass garden globe or gazing ball, whatever you want to call it. If you guys are new here, welcome. My name is Mackenzie. If you are not new, thank you for coming back. So if you have not seen part one yet, I will have part one linked down below if you want to go check that out first. I show you exactly how I prepped, everything I did to get ready to make this beautiful mosaic garden globe. Today's video, we are actually going to be mosaicing and getting this thing finished up. I can tell you right now, I am super proud of how it came out. I absolutely love it, but you guys will have to let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. So if that sounds like something you guys are into, let's get started. Enjoy part two. I know you guys have been waiting. We are just about ready to get started on this mosaic. We've got all of our mosaic tiles here. We've got our glue. These are all of the tools that I use while I am actually doing a mosaic. So I've got my little tweezers, and then that's a weeding tool. Sometimes I'll use it to kind of push around the tiles. I've got my little glue palette here, so I'll squish some glue out onto here when I use the paintbrush, and all of our pre-cut points. We are ready to go. And I think the obvious choice is to do the actual designs first. That way we don't kind of run out of space for our designs. I want to get those done first and get a feel for actually how big I'm going to spread them out, if I go over the stencil or not. So white is out, and we are going to start with our purple pieces first. So I'm going to pop open our Weldon Bond glue, old reliable, fantastic mosaic glue. Unless you are doing glass on glass, then I would suggest a different glue, but we're not doing that. So we're going to use old reliable Weldon Bond, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out. You don't want to do too much because it will dry pretty quickly. A little bit at a time until we kind of figure out how fast we're able to move along. Like I said, we are starting with our moons. So I think the very first thing that we're going to have to do is our points. And we've got our points right here in the cup. So I'm going to dump those out right there. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Like I said, this lighting is going to be tricky because there's so much going on as far as the iridescent. And I do want to get something to kind of hold this up a little bit. That's a little bit too high. Let me find something here. Let me push this up against there, and that'll hold our foam ball in place. Let's make sure we've got the right ones here. And we're gonna start with our 2 points. So because we're working on a rounded surface, I think we might have to move a little bit slower as far as laying these tiles down. Not like I am ever whipping through a mosaic anyway. And I also think we're gonna have to be quite generous with the glue once again. First piece on, let's get that glued in place. And I'm gonna kind of push down a little bit into the foam. And hopefully that will stay. This is going to be pretty tricky, you guys. This is going to be an interesting project. That is for sure. So yeah, you definitely want to be generous with the glue because we're putting a flat piece of glass on a rounded surface. So we want to make sure that we've got enough glue that where it is making contact, it's holding it down enough until it is completely dry. So I don't think I'm going to do the bottom point yet. I think I'm going to leave it positioned just the way it is, and I'm just going to start tiling the top of the moon. So I'm just going to keep going a little bit at a time. Like I always do with our mosaics, we're going to lay some glue down, and then we're just going to start picking up these pieces and laying them down in our stencil. Grab my tweezers here. All right, guys, bottoms up. Here we go. I am going to leave more space in between each of these tile pieces, once again, because we are working on a rounded surface. So we are going to have to use a lot more grout once this piece is finished. And to be able to round out the grout, I want to have more space in between each tile piece to help build up to the edges of the glass, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to take this really slow and kind of wing it here, guys. Like I said, I think this might be our most difficult mosaic to date, but I am really, really excited for it. Like normally I would try to go in and fit a tiny piece in that space right there, but I don't think I'm gonna do that with this mosaic. I'm just going to leave it quite gappy. Okay, so pretty standard mosaic process here, guys. Like I said, I am doing small sections of that glue at a time, but I'm also hand dipping each one of these little tiles sometimes. Again, just because it's that sphere, I really want to make sure that there is enough adhesive to hold these pieces in place. And I'm going in with a heat gun on a very low setting to just kind of quickly cure them before I move on. Guys, freaking look at this thing already. Now you can really get such a good vision as to what this thing is going to look like when we're finished, and I am so freaking excited. I haven't been this excited for a project, for a mosaic, in so long. I am so amped. The trick now is trying to get these areas to dry so I can move on to the next section. So what I'm having to do, as you just saw, is kind of just hitting it with the heat gun, and I'm doing it at the lowest setting to try to just get some airflow, to try to get these pieces dry enough where they're not going to sink or start moving when I move on to the next piece. And I think the smartest thing to do is going to be to finish this sun tonight, and then we're going to let these two pieces dry like this overnight, and then come back and finish the other two tomorrow. I just don't want to risk too much moving while we're working on the other ones. I'm going to let this sit for just a few more minutes, and then we are going to clean up our purple tiles here, and we're just going to have to switch over and start the sun next. Let's start with the point. We're going to pick out 6 points from this cup and 6 points from this cup. So like I said, points first. This one is a little bit more tricky just because we have to pay attention to the specific tiles that we're picking out. So like I'd mentioned earlier, we really want to make sure that we're using all the iridescent yellow sections of this particular red glass for the center, and making that a very defined line in that center circle. So you can see that I'm facing all of the edges right around the outside of that line, and then leaving a space when I'm going back in with the rays. So when we grout it, we're going to have a very defined line between the rays and the center, both color-wise and gap-wise. It is 12:08 in the morning, just past midnight. I think I am calling it here for the night. I could keep doing this forever. I do need sleep, and I've been trying not to be up all night anymore, and it's gonna take me a while to wind down after this anyway. I am so freaking excited with how it's turning out already. It is gonna look so good. Just picture the white iridescent on the full background. This thing is gonna be stunning, if I do say so myself. Now that I'm where I'm at, I'm feeling really good about it. I feel really positive. I think it's gonna be good to let these two pieces dry overnight. I cannot wait. So time to go to bed. I will see you guys in 2 seconds in the morning. Good morning. All right, guys, we've got our completely dried sun and our completely dried moon. And again, I am just absolutely so excited with how this thing is looking. So because the sun definitely took quite a bit longer than the moon for some reason, I think I am going to start with the sun this time, and I'm gonna do it in the exact same way I've been doing everything else so far. We're going to do the points first, concentrating the yellow iridescent reds in the center and filling out the rest. And then we're just gonna go right on to the moon, doing it in the same fashion, and then moving on to the background finally. We have officially gotten all 4 of our designs on, and it is looking so cool. That looks awesome. So this is kind of, I guess, the hardest part, because doing the background, although it's the biggest part and it's going to take the longest, it'll be the most mindless. It's literally just going to be filling in. I don't have to think about it. It's all one color, and we're moving around the shapes that we've already got in place. Just like last night, I want to let these two sit for a while. It takes quite some time for this glue to dry completely, and because I'm going to be flipping this thing all around, handling it so much, I want these tiles to completely dry before I start laying in the background. Like if I push like that, you can see the tiles are still moving, and we do not want that. So I might throw on just a small layer of glue around that edge. We'll let this dry. I'm gonna do this one quick coat around the edge right here, and I will see you guys as soon as we're ready to start the background. Okay guys, our final moon and our final sun is completely dry, and I'm pretty sure I just lost the footage of cutting the bottom of this off, or it wasn't recording at all. So as you can see, I cut the bottom of our garden globe kind of holder here. It was much longer, and on any normal garden globe, the actual stem that sits inside the stand is not nearly as long as the one we had on. So I knew I was most likely going to want to cut it, and now that we're ready to do the background, I wanted to cut it even more. So I just gave it a quick chop with the scissors, and I of course resealed the bottom with a layer of Mod Podge. So that's what you can see. It's kind of still setting a bit now, but it is dry to the touch. I put another layer of glue around the edge right here. We chopped this, covered the bottom so everything is weather resistant. Our moon and sun is dry, so we can handle this thing comfortably without worrying about moving any of our tiles. And we are ready to start the background, you guys. This is definitely gonna take the longest, but it should be, like I mentioned, the easiest because it's just mindless. It's all one color. We've already done our designs, our stencils. It should be pretty easy. So I'm excited to get this thing done. Now, because we cut the bottom of the stem, it feels a lot better when I'm holding it from here. It doesn't feel so top heavy. Obviously, having something longer, it is creating a heavier pull on this side. So because I cut it, when I hold it, it doesn't feel nearly as heavy as it did before, and I'm not as concerned as I was weight-wise. And now, because we've got it cut, I can do this. So I can sit it right inside a cup. It stands up on its own, and we can just start placing our tiles. So here is that very top center dot that we made. So I think I'm gonna start right there. Oh, that sounded bad. Okay, so why don't we do something to make the bottom of this a little bit heavier? What can we put inside here to make it as heavy as possible? I just quickly made this out of a old bin that I don't use anymore, and it's gonna fit the cup right inside perfectly, and that is gonna be a much more safe option than just letting this big heavy or top heavy globe sit in one of these small cups. And we're gonna get to mosaicing. So I've got all of my tiles right here, our little glue palette right here, my little tweezers, my paintbrush, and our Weldon bond. So let's get to it. Okay guys, here we go. Another day, more mosaicing. So here's what we're looking like now. I let everything dry overnight, and we are ready to get this thing finished up today. I'm just gonna kind of keep it tipped on its side like this, and I think I'm gonna go in waves. Let's get to it. Let's keep tiling. My gosh, you guys, we are done tiling our beautiful mosaic garden globe, and guys, it already looks so freaking cool. I'm so excited. Okay, so we've got tons of glue to let completely cure. So we're gonna let this thing cure overnight. We will be back first thing in the morning to finally grow our beautiful garden globe and see our final reveal. The time has come, you guys. It is ready. All of the glue is dry. We are ready to finally grout this thing. So if you guys aren't new here, you know this is always the grout that I use. I always use Jennifer's MOSAIC grout. It is an indoor-outdoor powdered grout, and I always get it in black. I love it. I trust it. It is very easy to work with. However, they only come in these very small 2-pound buckets. This is a big garden globe. So I don't know how many buckets of this I would have had to buy. So I started looking at option number 2. That's what I ended up going with, which is the MAPI Ultra Color Plus Premium Rapid Setting All-in-One Grout Replacement for sanded and unsanded grout. So online, when we're looking at the overview of this grout, it calls it an all-in-one grout for joint widths from 1/16 inches to 3/4 of an inch. And that was very important to me. That was one of a few factors that had to be there. It says it replaces the need to purchase a sanded and unsanded grout for the same project, which we weren't necessarily worrying about. It says it replaces the need to purchase a sanded and unsanded grout. It says it's high stain resistance with no sealing required. That was also another point that I was looking for. Then it says rapid setting, ready for foot traffic in 3 to 4 hours. Of course, that is referring to if you were to use this as like a tile flooring in a shower, kitchen, etc. Hopefully that rapid setting is going to help hold this grout in place even more. It also says it is color consistent, non-shrinking, efflorescence free. It says most importantly for grouting interior or exterior, because that is not all grout. So that was the most important. It is for interior or exterior. It says residential, commercial floors, wall surfaces in dry or wet conditions. And lastly, also very important, for grouting dimensional stone, slate, granite, stone agglomerates in most types of ceramic, ceramic mosaic, quarry, brick paver, porcelain, glass, and clay tiles. Then it says for application in steam showers, saunas, submerged conditions, swimming pools, spa, water features, and fountains. This was right around $20. We're gonna mix it ourselves. All you gotta use is water. Let's go over to the directions. Pretty basic directions. All of these are kind of just suggestions, and I won't bore you guys with all of those, all of these suggestions and tips. The most important thing here is how much water are we mixing in our grout. They are adding 1 to 1.1 quarts, which is 4 cups of water, and then adding in 10 pounds of grout. And this bag is 10 pounds. I think we're gonna cut it in half. So we're probably gonna do about 2 cups of water and then 5 pounds of the grout. I've got my scale right to the right here, so we will be able to weigh everything. I've got my measuring cup with water to the side. And then it says you have to, on low speed, mix it for 4 to 5 minutes. They are using a actual drill mixer, which I do not have one of those. So I'm just gonna have to do my best and hope to God that we mix it well enough that the color is consistent and that the grout itself is consistent and we don't have any cracking or any problems because of it. So it says to allow the grout to firm up in the joints sufficiently before beginning to wash. Grout is fast setting, which can reduce working time, especially in hot weather conditions. You're going to take a wet sponge after and wipe down your tiles. 9, we're getting a little less wet, wiping it down again. And then number 10 is buff to remove any film or haze. So essentially the same as any grout, any mosaic that you've done before. We're going to get everything ready, our space ready. Let's get this thing grouted. Okay guys, here is all of the supplies that I'm going to be using. Obviously we've got our grout right here. I've got a bunch of paper towels at the ready. I've got 2 cups of water because I think at the most I'm going to use 5 pounds. I might not even do that. I'm going to pour it out and weigh it and just kind of eyeball, see how much grout that actually is. So we've got our scale zeroed out. Now I'm going to grab my grout and just start pouring, guys. I have now weighed out 2 pounds, 8 ounces. So that is 2.5 pounds of grout, which means we are at 1/4 the amount that is in that entire bag. So we need 1/4 of the amount of suggested water. So we only need 1/4 of 4 cups because 1 quart is 4 cups. 1/4 of 4 cups is 1 cup. So all we need to add in now is 1 cup of water. Please, please, please make sure you are wearing a particulate specific mask. If you are going to be grouting like this stuff is going everywhere and you absolutely do not want to be breathing this stuff in. Let's do it. I think that's pretty darn good. Let's do this shit, guys. I'm gonna put on gloves because, I don't know, trying. Now it says to apply right away, so that's what I'm gonna do. All right, bottoms up, guys. Let's do it. I'm just gonna grab handfuls and start applying it. I will tell you, there is nothing more satisfying than applying grout to a mosaic. Yes, I'm taking the gloves off because it's just so much easier to work with, and the gloves get sliced up like crazy anyway, no matter how many you use, so they're coming off. Yep, we're looking good, guys. This is it. Let's do it. All right, we're gonna get it into its stand here. We're gonna let this thing sit here. So the directions say about 15-30 minutes. So we're gonna come back in 15-30 minutes. It just says to let the grout lines dry sufficiently. And luckily we've done this before, so we should know what that looks like visually. We're gonna let this thing dry. I'm gonna take my hands outside to clean it as best as I can, because you cannot let any of this stuff go down your sink, obviously, just like you don't want glass grinder, sand, or mud to go down your sink. So I'm gonna clean myself, let this sit for 15-30 minutes. It has been just about 25 minutes and I think we're ready to start wiping things down. I've got a whole bunch of stacks here of folded paper towels ready to go. You guys know me. I like to use paper towels as well as a damp sponge as I'm doing this, and I'm going to start with my damp paper towels first. So I've got my little plant spray bottle right here just to make this easy and more controlled, because I don't want these paper towels to be soaked. You want it to be just wet enough to wipe away the surface grout. Fingers crossed here, guys. Let's go. It never starts out perfect, but that's looking pretty damn good. See all the grout on here? All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah. We're ready to wipe away. Bottoms up, guys. So we're gonna keep doing this. And as soon as your paper towel kind of gets covered is when I'm gonna move on to either folding it like that or to my next paper towel. And each time I kind of go over the same spot, I'm gonna be using a little bit less water, because we wanna introduce the least amount of water possible to the grout. It is already wet, it is trying to dry, so all we're trying to do is wipe off the surface grout from our tiles. Okay, that is it. We are done. We have wiped away as much as we can off of the surface. I can fuss with mosaics for way longer than you need to. I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. And you guys know the best part is going to be seeing this thing in the sunlight, in the light of day tomorrow morning. So we're gonna let this baby cure, sit in its nest for one final night, you guys. We're gonna let this grout cure completely, come back tomorrow, give it its final wipe down. We're gonna plasti dip that little stand at the bottom. We are going to seal the grout. Then we can finally look at our finished garden globe, you guys. Okay, we are just about done, guys. We are at our final stretch. I've given it 24 hours, so absolutely plenty of time for this grout to have completely dried. It did say both on the directions and on the actual bag of this grout that it does not need to be sealed, but I think because it's a garden globe, it's going to be outside a lot. I still want to use a grout sealer. I'm just using the Fila, F-I-L-A grout sealer. Okay, going over every single grout line with this grout sealer. I don't want any of it touching the glass because I just want it to have the most shine possible, and I find it does sometimes leave a haze, so I'm going over every single line. Now we're doing the last step, and that is finally plasti dipping the stem of this thing. We are almost done, you guys. All we have to do is plasti dip it, give it a few coats. We're gonna let that dry with the grout overnight, and now let's take a look at our final finished mosaic garden globe. So, what did you guys think? I am super proud of this thing. Like I said, I absolutely love how this thing turned out. I think it is absolutely beautiful, and as always with iridescent glass, it is even more beautiful, not only in person, but in the sunlight or even in the shadows of sunlight. I don't know why, but normal lighting, filming lights, regular lights, any type of light, it just does not do it. It has to be sunlight. But this thing looks absolutely incredible sitting outside in the yard, which it has been doing. It's already sat in the rain. I'm really excited to have this piece. I'm really proud of it, but I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of my MOSAIC garden glass globe or gazing ball? I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys decide to make one too. I'd love to see them. Email them to me or find me on Instagram and send me some pictures. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's going to be it for today's video. Our beautiful MOSAIC glass garden globe is done. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video if you did, comment down below, and let me know what do you want to see next, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!